And we are now beginning our webinar. Welcome all of you who are here and those who are watching elsewhere. It's a real pleasure to be doing this webinar with you. So the title is How to Use Our Inner Psychic Gifts to Improve Your Life. And I thought about it a lot today, and I thought all of the people who are listening, watching, will all be on a spiritual path, that's for sure, or they wouldn't be actually wanting to take part in this webinar. So it seems that the very most important thing here is, how do we make our life better by using our psychic gifts? And I was thinking about people's lives in different environments, in corporate environments. How could that improve, for example, a corporate environment? How could it improve, let's say, an academic environment? And of course, if we heighten our powers, particularly of intuition, it would help enormously, whatever we were doing. Absolutely, it would be the most exciting thing to be able to shape and direct our psychic gifts, our spiritual gifts, which are of a higher vibration, let's say, than our psychic gifts. So important to see the differential. Can you all hear me clearly?
Yes, I hear you perfectly fine.
Thank you so much for giving me that feedback. Excellent. So being spiritual is when we have an awareness of something higher than ourselves, and that we know we're on a path, and we know that something higher than ourselves is interacting with us. That's being spiritual. We can sometimes be born with psychic gifts, and that we don't have the personal ethic to go with them. Whereas if we are spiritual, we have the personal ethic always. Truth, love. Everything I do, whether it's a webinar, a seminar, whether it's a workshop, whether it's seeing someone on a one-to-one basis, always, and welcome to those who've just joined us, it's always with these words: I work in light, love, and truth. Please protect us. Because sometimes people, and it's not knocking psychics who are not on a spiritual path, they nearly always are, but occasionally not. But people are pulled to their development through different types of people. For example, we might think of a yogi who emanates peace and goodness and wisdom. Or we might think of a magician standing on the stage with his brightly colored cloak and all the sequins sparkling. It would be interesting, just think for a moment, which one of those two would you actually probably listen to with more respect? Would it be the sparkling magician on the stage who can do wonderful things? Or would it be the yogi who is sitting, emanating peace, goodness, humility? And so that is, if you like, the difference between. Now, so to sharpen our intuition, how to do it? If you have studied yoga or attended classes, then you will be well aware of how, for meditation, we can use a candle, we can use fire. And it is important to know that that is one of the elements that we can use to heighten our intuition our awareness, our own spiritual gifts. Because when we look into the heart of the flame, we feel our energy shifting, changing, calming down, because we're focusing on that flame. Now, for safety's sake, I'm going to blow out my visual aid. So you've all seen it. It's very important to use that. People, this is the Greek Orthodox Easter Monday. And in the churches, of course, everyone is lighting candles for their family, their friends, for the sick and suffering in the world. But it's a joyful occasion. So we can use fire as a point of meditation. We can also use water. And water is a brilliant conductor. And a bowl of water, I just have a glass of water here in case I need to have a little drink to make me even more eloquent. So water in a bowl, look in, and when you look into the water or into the sea or into a river or a lake, you will feel your vibrations alter. Now, they're simple things, two elements that we've looked at, fire and water. And when we look into water, we can experience all kinds of physiological things. For example, we can feel our breathing alter. We can feel our eyelids get heavy as we look into the bowl of water. And if our gifts are on the cusp, we can see things. And if you build this into your practice of wanting to bring forward your gifts, find the seat that you would find most comfortable, keep to the same time every day, say to your guides, every day I will give you 10 minutes or 5 minutes, I will sit here, and please show yourself to me. Now, it could be visually, it could be through sound, it could be through touch. It can be any one of these. It will depend on your own gifts and which one is the most prominent. There's no better and worse than. If your audio, then sound is terribly important. If it's all about visualization, then you will visualize. If it's through touch and feeling and sensation, then you might feel a tiny touch on your cheek. It could be you'll hear the lyric of a song, if you're all to do with sound, or if it's vision, it could be you will see something. So when you're looking into your bowl of water, which does bring forward your gifts, and here is an example in Kuala Lumpur, someone who had a dreadfully bad stutter, who had never been to see anyone like me, never gone to any practitioner doing a workshop, nothing. And he came to see me with a terribly bad stutter, poor guy, to do his life's work, very difficult. And he said, I won't imitate stutter, obviously. And he said, can I come to the workshop tonight? And I said, yes, please come. Bring with you a bowl of water, just a bowl, we'll top it up with water. So I did the session for him in the afternoon. The evening, everyone was sitting there in front of me, and they were all people who had looked at every practitioner who came, every workshop that came, all of that. So I looked into my bowl of water. I said, oh, I think I saw a little yellow imp. Oh, it must have been my imagination. And everybody said, no, every practitioner who comes sees that little yellow imp. So I felt, Well, that was interesting. And we went round everyone, having told everyone, if you don't see anything, don't try and pretend that you do. It doesn't mean that you haven't got gifts. It just means on this occasion, you might not be ready to see something. So one or two saw maybe a horse or maybe a car or something like that. Then we came to our guy at the end, and it was one of the most magical things I've seen in my life, which is why I'm telling it to you now. This guy who'd never done anything, never practiced yoga, never studied anything at all, sat and with a completely calm voice, he said, as I look in, I see a cobbled street. I see carriages going up and down. I see houses. I see people in different dress. He didn't have a trace of his stutter at all. And he said, I will do this for the rest of my life, every evening. Now, I was in Kuala Lumpur 2 years ago because I couldn't go last year. I think November 2019. And he came to see me and he said, do you remember me? And I said, very well. He said, that changed my life, that workshop. This has nothing to do with me or my gifts. The guy was ready. He said, I have given up my profession, was something to do with banking or finance. And he said, I'm opening a center of my own. Now that was an involuntary thing that happened to him. And that can happen to any one of us, that we can literally be minding our own business, driving a car, and suddenly something really unexpected happens. It's beyond ordinary physics, beyond, hello, welcome, beyond the three-dimensional life that we live in. And we think, that was a phenomenon. How did that happen? Well, in the weaving of your life, of all of our lives, in the weaving of our lives, there are golden threads as well as the ordinary colors. And when we think that I want to see the extraordinary all of the time, well, that might happen or it might not. But it comes in an involuntary way when we're not expecting it, and in a way that it has more value. Because when we are meditating or visualizing, we tend to think we're in a higher sphere. Therefore, that's when the phenomena can happen. But it can happen just during the day. You could be in the middle of teaching and suddenly you think, hey, where did that fire come from? And you realize it's your higher self opening in an involuntary way. So important never to get out of control with a car or anything like that. If that happens, find the nearest safe place, pull in and stop, because you don't ever want to be responsible for an accident of any kind. So intuition, how to make our intuitive selves better. Right. I put these out on my table so that we would have this energy in this webinar. They are Andara crystals, and they put out a great deal of very pure and high energy. I have 3, and I just want you to have that beautiful energy as the webinar goes on. It looks like a mountain of ice, natural glass from the Sierra Mountains in America. So, how do we develop our intuition? Well, you can get a packet of playing cards. Not suggesting you take up gambling or anything of that kind, just playing cards, and turn them face down and juggle them about on the table And then put your hand over one, and without looking at it, see if you can sense, is it red or black? Has to be one of the two. And as you do that more and more, you'll realize that as you place your hand over, you will almost be reading that color vibration through your hand. You can do that easily, easily. So that's one of the things to do. Practice. Another thing, some people will really know about what the time is. They don't have a watch. They haven't looked at their iPhone or their Android. There's no big town clock nearby, but they will know what time it is to the last minute or two. That's another way of bringing forward your intuition. So intuit the time instead of glancing at your watch or the iPhone. So you're bringing forward your innate capacity by doing these small things. Now, there's something else that you can do. Focusing, terribly important. Setting intention, terribly important. You know, when we see a beautiful building or a beautiful bridge, and we think, what an amazingly beautiful design somebody's had, a fabulous design. Well, that design didn't come miraculously into being in the third dimension. It came because somebody had the idea in the higher planes. So they had the idea, they drew the design, they checked it with a civil engineer, they worked out the weight potential and all of the rest of it, and only then could that bridge come into manifestation. The power of your thoughts is immense. Can't emphasize that enough. Your thoughts are things. So terribly important, especially in this time of COVID, to keep your thoughts optimistic and high as much as you can. Of course, I know how difficult it is. Absolutely, but very important. Think about a boxer who's thrown onto the ropes, and he doesn't just stay there. He comes forward, pushing forward, and that's how we really need to be at this time. So think of the power of your mind. Think about the power of your setting your intention. Now, here's something you can do with a partner or a friend. You take a blank piece of paper, okay? And you put it down on the table in front of you or on your knees, whatever. One of you is A and one of you is B. And you project from your lens here. You project a picture. Make it a simple image. Don't make it a really, really intricate image with lots and lots of little bits. You're only going to do this quickly. But put an image onto the blank paper. No pen, no pencil. You just direct it on. And then give it to your partner. And he or she will give theirs to you. So you're looking at a fresh piece of paper while he's looking or she's looking at yours. And you think, oh, that's interesting. And then, because we're all a little bit, not cowardly, but we don't like to look stupid, none of us do, then we might say, well, I'm not sure, but I've got a kind of a feeling that what I'm seeing is maybe the sun shining on a mountain. Then stick with it. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. It could be that the person who drew that something else was actually thinking about climbing a mountain in sunshine. Now, I was doing a workshop in America, and we were working in pairs, everybody. And everybody got it right. And they were amazed because they were total beginners. And they said, surely we're meant to use a pencil or a pen for this exercise. And I laughed. I said, no, you're projecting from here. Don't underestimate your gifts. Always, that's my message in any workshop, in any lecture, anything. Never underestimate yourself. You have the gifts, all of you, and all of you can bring them forward. So the person might look and say, well, I thought it was, let's say, an apple sitting on a table. And the person might laugh. And then you might say, well, I was thinking it was going to be a mountain with the sun shining on it. And they say, I've just come down from climbing with a friend from a nearby mountain, and it was a sunny day. And that's what happened with one person only in that group. Everybody else had gotten it. They were patting themselves on the back saying, I didn't know we could do this. They were really happy. And this woman said, I didn't get it right. And the person whose sheet she was looking at said, what was it you saw? And she said, I saw an aeroplane flying through the clouds. And he looked at her and he said, I flew in from Boston today. So she didn't pick up what he'd projected, but she picked up what was his vibration at that time, because he had flown in to that city from Boston. So you can do this so easily, easily. And you will be proud of yourself, not falsely proud, but you'll think, oh, I thought it was only other people who could do things like that. No, each one of you, each one of us has got gifts, no better than and no worse than. Now, I'd like us to do this exercise just now, which is very simple. We're going to look at a PowerPoint, and it has different aspects. And I want you to just be very quiet and taking deep breaths. And as you look at the PowerPoint, that you will see different aspects, symbols. See which one you relate to. The one that you really feel that calls to me. Okay, Pia. Next. 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 Okay. Could we have that again, Pia, just without me saying next, just going through it quite quickly so that people can see which ones they recognized? Thank you so much. Hi, Pia, can we go through that? Just showing the pictures one after the other?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have, in this time of COVID, we have had time to reflect on our lives. That's been one of the positives from it. We've had time to reflect. Are we doing things the correct way? Is this time out from the busyness of life? Say, well, I want to do things in a slightly different way. Many people working from home. Is it advantageous? Is it not? Do they want to return to the more sociable aspect of the office? All of that kind of thing. Sort of reflection time. And those symbols we can choose for the ones that we feel, hey, I think I resonate most with that one. I hope that everybody here will have one of the pictures, the stars for everything good coming for everyone. I really hope that that is the case. But it will help you to have that picture in your mind so that if you're on the metro or wherever, you can bring that forward and think, hey, that keeps reoccurring in my mind. Now, what is it telling me? It might be that you think about the boats and think, that little simple wooden rowing boat, that's the one that feels right for me. Or it could be that you think, actually, that sailing ship, I'm at a really momentous time in my life. So think about that. It helps to be able to have visual symbols that we can look at and say, yeah, I understand where that's coming from in my life. And of course, we go through periods of time of static energy, of very fast positive energy, maybe getting 2 or 3 job offers all at the same time. Which one will we do? Which takes me beautifully to this aspect. And it's really important. No, we wish, myself included, I'm not allowed to use the gifts for me. If I have a problem, I have to go through everything exactly the same way as everybody else. And that's true of all of us. And when you think of it, if we had the gifts of being able always to see, well, we better avoid that and avoid that and avoid that, we wouldn't go through all the phases of life that we have to. We would have an unfair playing field. And that's why our gifts are given for the many. They are not for ourselves. So we have to go through trauma, loss, fear, anxiety, everything else, same as everyone else. Let's say you have a problem and you cannot resolve it. You've gone round and round and round in circles like we all have. Should I be in Dubai? Or should I be making a shift in my life, going somewhere else? And which countries would I think of going to? All that kind of stuff. Let's take that as a for instance. And you think, well, I know how to use a pendulum. I'll use a pendulum to help me. So we can say that. And yes, it's important that we have the pendulum. And many of you will know how to use them. But we can put a slant on it. We can put shade on it by our own expectations. And that's really important because not any of us would want to choose a difficult way. We're not masochists. So you take 5 pieces of paper and let's say whatever your question would be, you look at 5 solutions and you write them down. This time you're not doing this just by projecting, as we looked at earlier. So you might say A, let's say, stay in Dubai. This is a for instance. B, you might say, go to America. C, you might say, go back to my home country. my case, it would be Scotland. Although I'm living in Cyprus, I come from the Highlands of Scotland, and my gifts are descended for hundreds of years down the female line. So go back to home country, that would be 3. You might think Australia, that would be D. It's still a pretty good country for a young family, for example. And you might put E for anything else that you haven't covered. And this is a great way of helping you with your decisions. You then fold them identically. You don't want them all different shapes. You want them to be the same. You fold up each of the 5, scrunch them up so you can't see what's inside them. You can't color the decision because you don't know which one you're going to be taking. So that gets you out of the equation. You have these 5 and you put them somewhere. You shake them up so that you don't know which one is uppermost or which one is the least attractive. You shake them or you put them in a can or something like that. And then you put something like a pillow over the top so you can't see. There's no cheating here. And then you take out 1 and you use your pendulum. And you use the pendulum asking the question, show me yes, show me no. I'm sure you all know how to do that. In ancient China, they used string with a cork to see which were the male eggs and which were the female eggs. So thousands of years ago, they were using a cork on a piece of string so that they were taking out the cockerels' eggs and the others. So that's been going on for a long time. So you take them out one by one and you open them. And then using your pendulum, you find out yes or no. If it's yes, put it into the yes place. If it's no, just put it somewhere else. Do that with each of the 5. And you'll probably find that there are 2 yeses. Or at least if I've done it in a workshop, that tends to be, well, what do I do? I've got 2 yeses. So you put all the no's away. You again take your 2 yeses and you use the pendulum. And you see which one swings the fastest, the strongest of the 2. And then you're being given a solution. That's the best place to go to. But as a backup plan, you can have this one. And that will help you in any major decision. You're using your powers of intuition. Usually you would use 5 solutions. I took it meaning place. It could be that you're thinking of, should I get married this year, next year, or is this not the right person? You can do it in anything that is causing you anxieties or worries, or you're going round and round and round. It will help you. And that way is foolproof. I know someone in Shanghai, very talented, highly intelligent woman, Swiss, and she swore that her guides were telling her to go to Los Angeles to work. She had a very, very intelligent brain. So obviously her friends, including me, asked questions like, do you know anybody in Los Angeles? No. Do you have a green card? No. Do you know about Esther? Not yet. Do you have to give up your present job, or can they give you a leave of absence? Anyway, she was adamant. Certainly, my guide said, no, don't do that. Visit as a holiday first to see how you feel. Don't up sticks and go. Anyway, a few months later, she was back, very broke and very, very disheartened in Shanghai. But for something as important as that, I would take three people that I really rated their gifts so highly, and that we're independent, we're impartial witness. When I'm doing my work in an individual way or whatever, it's individual, it's not colored by one's emotional expectation. It's completely detached. Therefore, for something as important as that, I would say find three people whose gifts you really, really trust. And if 2 out of 3 say that's a bad idea, then give it up. She couldn't understand why the guides were telling her to do that, because she was using her gifts for herself, which I just explained. We're not allowed to do that, because we'll always make it favorable to ourselves. What we want to hear, we'll see. Same with pendulums. So make sure you know that that is working in an involuntary way without you trying to push it towards a yes or no answer. That will help you enormously. Now, intuition, you could be sitting, let's say, in a conference room, and there are several people there with PhDs, maybe some of them with 2 PhDs. If you've got a highly developed intuitive self, which is one of the gifts of the spirit, or you can say one of the psychic gifts, you're having a head start, because people can have studied and studied and studied. They can have so many letters after their name, but somebody who's intuitive can get to the bullseye of a situation every time. That's why it's really important to think of it in those ways, how to bring forward your intuitive gifts, your psychic gifts, but more than that, your spiritual gifts. So when we're working with water, we're getting healing. Because when we look into water, you can try it. When we look into water, our breathing goes deeper. Our eyelids get heavy. So we're physiologically reacting to looking into water. And you know, it's an interesting thought. I have an extremely well-known friend who was Romani, and his family very, very well-known indeed in Britain. And he said, you know, people always see us with crystal balls. He said, but that's not how we began. He said, when we were crossing the desert thousands of years ago, there was no water to look into. Therefore, we had to look into crystals. So the next time you see someone with a crystal ball, remember that those Romanis who came, I think, originally from India and crossed deserts, they had no water to use, to look into, to scry. Therefore, a crystal became their usage tool. Now, interestingly, he told me, he said, you know, I don't see when I hold a crystal ball. He said, I feel. So here was somebody who was not visual, but he was using a visual tool, but he was sensing it, everything. An amazingly talented person, amazingly talented. So we can heal ourselves, we can calm ourselves, we can focus using fire. Setting intention is desperately important. Thoughts are things, remember. As you think about your friends, why are your friends your friends? Because you sort of match. You might say some are attraction of opposites, that's true, but your vibration will be very similar. If you put out a negative, oh, I'm so down, everything's static, I can't get going. If you put that out, that's what you're going to bring into your life, because it will always match. One of my 4 children said to me the other week, she said, you know, she's an artist, very high, intense highs and lows. She said, you know, it really annoys me how you're always so optimistic. And I laughed. And I said, I can't be pessimistic. And I don't think people should be, because it makes things worse. And then I thought, we're all different. Don't sit in judgment on anyone. I will carry on with optimism. But it did amuse me. I thought, well, it's the first time I've ever been scolded for being an optimist. So think about that. What are you emanating? Just really think about what you're emanating. And you want to emanate positivity. You want to use simple things that you have in the kitchen, water, matches, fire, candles, so that you can steady your thoughts and that you can go into a calm and peaceful place. Very important. Now, I'm going to, if you'll close your eyes, I'm going to give a small visualization. So feeling comfortable, closing your eyes, and being aware of your breathing changing as you go into a peaceful place. And there's an archway in front of you, a stone archway. And as you look around you, you see the blue, blue sky, and you hear birds singing. And you feel so happy to be away from other people in this quiet place of your own through the archway. In front of you, there is a steep stair, and it's made of wood. And it has quite small, shallow steps, one going above the other, going above the other. And you begin to walk up that wooden stair, and it begins to spiral. So you follow the curve, going higher, feeling so good with the sun on your back. Listen to birdsong, no one interrupting you. Feeling excited that there is something at the end of this circular staircase. And so you climb ever higher. As you get close to the top, there's a small door, again with an arch. And you open the arched door. And you go into a small room which has wood paneling all around. You like this room. Feel so comfortable. On a wooden desk, there is a green leather book, a large green leather book. And on the cover, written in gold letters, is your name. So feeling your heart beating with anticipation, you go over with reverence to the desk and open the green leather book with your name in golden letters. And you open the book and see what you are meant to see. The message that is for you. You hold that image as you look and breathing deeply, feeling that you are taking the energy right into your heart center. You close the cover of the book and run your fingertips over the golden letters of your name, feeling the vibrations of your name, giving you happiness and pride in yourself in a good way. And thanking the book of knowledge with your name, you retire from the room through the archway and begin to descend down the circular staircase, feeling that you have been given a gift, feeling that you are ready to take up whatever burdens you may have in your life, and knowing that all will be well as you go lower and lower down the steps and go through the archway, away from the courtyard, away from the birds singing, away from that special place which you can return to at any time, wherever you are, in the metro or in a taxi, wherever you are, you can return to that place and absorb the peace and also the knowledge from that green leather book with your name on the cover, heightening your intuition. Breathe more deeply and feeling more aware of your surroundings as you breathe in and those of you who are already pretty much got your gifts of intuition and so on, remember you can use the palm of your hand floating above something to sense where it has come from. Psychometry. Now, I bought this little coffee cup in a little antique shop, I guess, a week ago, and I like it very much. I think it's a beautiful little cup. And when we hold something that's perhaps new to us, we can see either visual pictures. So begin to realize you can read through your fingertips, you can read through the palms of your hands. You can take an old piece of jewelry that somebody's had and worn and get their vibration. These are all ways of bringing forward your psychic, spiritual gifts. And the more that you practice these simple things, the more rich your life becomes. Absolutely. Because every day you will see how the powers of intuition and so on can enrich our lives. Now I'm just going to play the healing chimes for a couple of minutes. And of course, the healing chimes work on your chakras. It's not just a nice sound, but actually retone your chakras. So thank you all for joining me in this webinar. It was a real pleasure for me to see you all, and I hope you will bring forward with confidence your own psychic, spiritual gifts. Thank you very much. Bye. Thank you, Valentina. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you for your kindness. Okay. Bye.